Canada, our home and native land where we are supposed to be the true north, strong and free, has unfortunately been the opposite of this for generations when it comes to the economy and our employment standards. With our free market economic system solely revolving around the generation of money coming from consumption and natural cash flow, why are there so many issues with Canadian employment? Unfortunately, the free market economy doesn't mean that everything comes at no cost. Everything in this world comes at a cost, so why has it become so increasingly difficult for our working population to maintain a job? In this day and age, it became so increasingly difficult to find a job even with a post-secondary education, it's ridiculous. And don't even get me started on trying to find a job without one. Nowadays, with adult minimum wage being at a measly $10.25 per hour, it has become almost impossible to support yourself or even a family. If our economy primarily fuels itself from our consumer expenditure at almost 60% of our GDP, why in hell aren't we maximizing our employment rates in order to decrease unemployment and increase economic health in Canada? It's a win-win situation. Give more Canadians more jobs, they make more money, they spend more money, and our GDP and our economy grows. Do this and maybe we will actually see some economic growth for the first time in years. It really is that simple. So why haven't these changes been made in Canada? According to statistics, in Canada, you require at least $11,000 to support one individual and up to $44,000 in order to support a family of 4. But remember, this is a statistic of just survival, so don't expect to be having a nice plasma screen or an iPhone or anything. This statistic is relevant to what your family and you need to survive. This means clothing, water, food, and shelter, nothing else. However, this is not the kind of statistic you would see in a town like Oakville. Fortunately, us Canadians don't have to pay for healthcare, but instead we get hit with that gnarly 13% HST on virtually everything we buy. And the simplest way I can put this, if we want a healthier economy and a healthier population, changes need to be made. Basically, jobs need to be given to our citizens that allow them to not just survive, but to strive towards a healthier life and a better standard of living. In a perfect world, every one of our citizens, meaning 0% employment, 0% poverty, or anything, everyone should be able to afford the luxuries and necessities that they need. With the amount of corporations in Canada, along with the amount of unemployed, job-seeking Canadians, don't you think it's a little bit ridiculous that unemployment exists, or even the fact that it's at such high percentages these days? Unemployment ranges from a low of 6% to a high of 9%. On top of the already existing difficulties in trying to maintain a job and supporting yourself, corporations decide to make all of our lives harder with something called discrimination. Discrimination has been something that has been evident in our society for generations and generations. Whether the discrimination takes form in sexism, racism, or anything in between, it is an issue both economically and ethically, and it needs to stop. Although it wasn't as popular as it was back in the day, it is still an issue and it can no longer be taken. When you walk through the streets and you see a homeless man or woman with only anything they can carry, don't you ever wonder why the government hasn't done anything about this? How is it ethical or fair that you have the chance to have a job and make a living, but they don't? Employment, discrimination, and low wages are all problems in both our government and our population, and this cannot be a problem any longer. Citizens as the population and our leaders as the government of Canada need to step in and make a difference to ensure that Canada is constantly aspiring to be the best we can be, both as an economy and a society.